Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unraveling the absolute epic that is the history of India. We're talking about one of the world's oldest and most fascinating civilizations. We're going to explore how this incredible region birthed ancient wonders, shaped major global religions, and ultimately transformed into the modern, high-tech powerhouse we know today. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so let's start with a really massive number, 5,000. India boasts over 5 millennia of continuous, unbroken history. Think about that for a second. We aren't just looking at a few centuries of development here. We're talking about a vast, continuous chain of human experience stretching all the way from the ancient Bronze Age right up to the bustling modern era.
Because covering 5,000 years is, well, a lot, here's our roadmap. We'll hit 5 key eras: the dawn of civilization, empires of the Golden Age, the Mughal era, colonial rule and resistance, and finally, the birth of modern India.
Starting with part 1, the dawn of civilization, laying the foundations.
So our journey literally begins around 2500 BCE with the Indus Valley Civilization. Then 1,000 years later, around 1500 BCE, things get culturally deeper with the Vedic Age. And by the 4th century BCE, a massive shift happens when the Maurya Empire steps up and unites a huge chunk of the subcontinent.
Now, these early urban centers, places like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they weren't just your average primitive settlements. No, these were true engineering marvels. Picture this. All the way back in 2500 BCE, they had well-planned grid streets, thriving trade networks, and get this, advanced drainage systems that were arguably better than what you'd find in some modern cities today. It's just wild.
Fast forward to around 1500 BCE, and the Vedic Age begins. This is a real game changer, because it's when the Vedas, the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism, were actually composed. And this isn't just dusty ancient history. These texts laid down profound spiritual and cultural traditions that literally still guide millions of people, both in India and across the globe, right now.
Moving on to part 2, empires of the Golden Age, unity and progress. Right, so by the 4th century BCE, the Maurya Empire united the subcontinent, and it really hit its peak under Emperor Ashoka. Now, Ashoka's legacy is absolutely fascinating because it's defined by this dramatic personal pivot. See, his early rule was marked by the devastating, incredibly bloody Kalinga War. But struck by deep remorse, he completely changed course. A total 180. He converted to Buddhism, renounced violence entirely, and spent the rest of his life spreading peaceful teachings across Asia. He even carved his apologies and new laws right into massive stone pillars and mountainsides. Then, from the 4th to the 6th centuries CE, the Gupta Empire ushered in what's widely known as India's Golden Age. And it truly was golden. We're talking about staggering intellectual leaps here. Massive advancements in medicine, literature, and astronomy. In fact, this is the exact same civilization that gave the entire world the concept of the number 0. Think about that. That one idea fundamentally changed mathematics and human progress forever.
This brings us to part 3, the Mughal era, monuments and administration.
So, fast-forwarding past the arrival of a few 12th century Muslim dynasties, we hit 1526. This is when the Mughal Empire stepped in and fundamentally reshaped the subcontinent. And what's interesting is they didn't just conquer, they integrated. The Mughals introduced these highly sophisticated administrative systems to manage their massive territory, and they brought with them this incredibly rich cultural synthesis of Persian, Islamic, and Indian traditions.
But for sure, their most visually enduring legacy was taking architecture to just unprecedented heights. They built magnificent monuments, and the absolute crown jewel is, of course, the Taj Mahal. It's a breathtaking mausoleum built by an emperor out of sheer grief and love for his wife. It seamlessly blends different architectural styles into a masterpiece that honestly still defines India's global image today.
On to part 4, colonial rule and resistance, the crucible of freedom.
For nearly 200 years, the narrative of India took a really drastic turn under British colonial rule. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the British East India Company, and eventually the Crown itself, gradually took control. It was definitely a somber era of intense extraction and struggle. But paradoxically, this shared hardship essentially became the crucible that united an incredibly diverse subcontinent in a fierce, unified pushback for freedom.
And by the early 20th century, that independence movement really surged. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi championed a revolutionary philosophy of nonviolent resistance known as satyagraha.
Through highly organized civil disobedience, like the famous Salt March, Gandhi and millions of everyday people basically weaponized peace against oppression. They proved to the world that a massive empire could actually be dismantled without firing a single shot.
Which leads us to our final chapter, Part 5, The Birth of Modern India, a Democratic Powerhouse.
That relentless struggle for freedom culminated in a rapid, thrilling series of milestones. The growing momentum of the early 20th century finally broke the chains on August 15, 1947, when India officially gained its independence, and Jawaharlal Nehru took the helm as the very first prime minister. Then, shortly after, on January 26, 1950, the nation adopted its constitution, officially becoming the world's largest democratic republic.
It's amazing to see how those 5,000 years of history have directly forged today's dynamic global powerhouse. Right now, India is the world's most populous country, celebrated for its staggering diversity of cultures, languages, and religions. It boasts a rapidly growing economy and has completely cemented its place as a global leader in tech, education, and even space exploration.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. We've traced this epic historical evolution from the advanced brick drainage systems of the ancient Indus Valley all the way to modern probes successfully orbiting the moon. So as India continues its phenomenal rise, how will its vibrant democratic system and ongoing scientific achievements shape our global future? Thank you so much for exploring the history of this incredible civilization with me today. And hey, if you enjoy history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical stories from around the world.